We don't have any new ground to break in terms of Donald Trump and, his early history of misrepresentations. I will tell you this. We're just talking about this a lot right now where, here in Florida, we interviewed the former president a couple times, including most recently on this trip. And, one of the big challenges for us as journalists and authors is how do you write about someone who is, not just untruthful in even any conventional sense, but, our colleague Glenn Kessler from the Washington Post had to invent a whole new category for Trump's untruthfulness called the bottomless Pinocchio, because one of the unique aspects of Donald Trump, right, is not just that he tells untruths, but that he actually, it's a circularity to it, right, that he repeats them over and over and over again. So he certainly adds new ones, but he also, he creates the feeling of the alternate reality, and it's part of his salesmanship and marketing as well. So I think any of the stories about his biography, whether it's, how did he get into college, he's told layers of falsehoods about his own history that make it very hard to even understand what actually did happen. And I'll give you one minor example of this. In our first interview with him, which was a few months ago, he brought up the 1918 Great Influenza, except he called it the 1917 influenza. Who knows why? He clearly said it once or twice. He clearly was corrected. I wrote a whole column in the New Yorker, actually, during the pandemic about why does Donald Trump, the casualness with which history must conform to even his mistakes. And I actually think that that's what happened. That he made a mistake. It was pointed out to him. Rather than correct this minor thing nobody would care, he wants actually all of us to be in that alternate reality. At any rate, his grandfather is believed to have died in the 1918 influenza. And by the way, in 1918, not in 1917. I brought that up and I said, well, you have a family connection to this, and your grandfather, he died. And he said, no, he didn't. He said he had pneumonia. And I said, well, that's interesting, sir. He's like, you heard that? I've never even heard that. And I said, well, really, because it's in the books. There's a book about your family history. And the source was his father, who told the author, Gwenda Blair, that the grandfather died. And at any rate, I tell this story because one of the challenges for anyone thinking about the last few years is what is our own assumptions about truth and biography, and how do you work that in? Jim Baker is a very different kind of a subject for that reason.